Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the colleagues today.
Dave.
Nate.
And today we're going to do another MageForge, and this one was kind of my idea. I was thinking about, in the Chimes of Discordia, we have, links to the plane of chaos and chaos leaks and all these other kind of things. So I'm like, how cool would it be to have a transmutable item that's basically totally composed of chaos, and you can have it reshaped into whatever you want. So I don't know whether kind of properties or anything we wanted to do, but if you just had it labeled as a flat +1 item, and it's like, okay, well, with some kind of thought or action or whatever, it could shift into, say, a shield or a longsword or whatever have you. So that's the base idea. Go.
All right.
What about Mammoth Barding?
Perhaps
shift it into Mammoth Barding.
Size requirements.
That's your first go-to with Mammoth Barding.
Well, he's trying to test the limits here.
Yeah, like what are the limits?
Paper thin Mammoth Barding.
Can it go down to the size of a +1 paperclip up to Mammoth Barding? What can we do with this? Can we go, okay, it's full plate, or is it like more specific? Like it can turn into any weapon or any missile weapon, any melee weapon.
I think any handheld object would be a good. That limits the size.
Like a PDA.
Yeah, a PDA, sure. Sorry, no complex moving parts. A gear upon another gear is too far.
Yeah.
So basically, you could say, okay, is it tools? Is it a weapon? Like those kind of things. I don't see a problem with. Restricting it away from armor might be a good idea.
Unless it's a property you add to some things, like, okay, so like it's armor, but it can be any kind of armor you want. It's barding, it can be any kind of barding you want. It's it's a weapon, it can be any kind of weapon you want.
Oh, maybe this is a series rather than just one thing.
Yeah, I mean that's another route to take. I think there was probably in 3rd edition, this was probably a property to add it,
like
+1 or whatever.
Mutable or something.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, so mutable weapon, mutable armor.
Right, so you could do it, or maybe like you could do like I guess like a wondrous item type thing, where if it's a tool or something that adds a bonus to proficiency. So like
Sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, essentially, man. So so you could take it from that route. Like, so there's the idea of, okay, the anything object, which would be pretty strong, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Or the almost anything, anything in this category object. So it's like to decide that, and like, did it randomly happen? Did someone unlock the process to infuse chaos into something, to make it transmute into that? Maybe there's some weird rule, like it actually had to be something that person who actually created it knew how to make in order for it to change into that thing.
Well, if you want to allow it can literally be anything. It could be the first real bleed over from the plane of chaos, and it literally is like a malleable, mass of raw chaos, and a wizard or somebody came in contact with it, and while he was able to manipulate and do this, he wasn't able to completely replicate it by drawing more energy from the plane of chaos, but he can make a lesser version thereof.
So it would have a size restriction.
So yeah, there is probably like the legendary one that literally can be anything.
I'm feeling some fun things with this, like you have to maintain a concentration on it at all times. Like it should be better than +1, or it goes back to its
puddle of mercury or something.
Yeah, it's like floating around you or whatever, but you're like, as long as you're concentrating on a +1 catapult. Or armor or whatever, but then different things would cause you to make a concentration check, and it'd be like, you're wearing full plate, and all of a sudden it's like, it's like you just got hit by a bucket of liquid metal instead as it falls off of you.
I like that requires concentration.
I think
that would make it more powerful then.
Yeah, then it'd have to be better than the +1, and or maybe depending on how good it is, maybe, and instead of concentration, like maybe you have to expend the reaction or something. You know, the only thing with I guess my problem with concentration, while it's an interesting mechanic, you're totally effing your spellcasters.
Yes, and I was gonna bring that up. And number one, you know, lots of things can invoke a concentration check, and you know, it's well, once you start getting up there in you know, damages and encounters, it's very easy to fail. And once, you know, if your fighter's walking around in full plate and he gets hit and he fails, well, he's going to get hit a whole lot more often now, and you know, his thing is gone.
Taking a section out of the new Mystic Unearthed Arcana, what if concentrating, like a spellcaster's probably not going to make full plate out of this unless he's got the ability to wear it, but what if it in some way lets you augment spells, like a meta magic kind of thing? So whether it has like charges or, well, we already have kind of an object that does that. I'm trying to think of like twisting or, I don't know, wild surges or something. I think something cool should happen with spellcasters. Oh, unless we just want to make it. It's a physical thing and that's it. And if you want to be a spellcaster and concentrate on it so you have a staff, go right ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could absolutely turn it into a spell focus, arcane focus, or
oh yeah,
something like that. And there are things that give bonuses. It already in the DMG, you have the Warlock Scepter, you have the Staff of the Magi, Staff of Power.
Yes,
So
you would get the, you know, the +2 to hit with your spells, and +1 on saves.
So there is precedent for those, or
Okay.
yeah, maybe you can actually kind of polymorph it into any object you're aware of. Like you can turn it literally into a Staff of Power, but like the caveat to that is like you have to maintain concentration for it to stay that.
So what if it was like, you know, again, I don't know how many tiers, you know, we're talking about having this thing. Like, you know, I imagine the legendary one, the unique one, whatever have you, you know, has access to everything. And if you want to have other things, then it could be like, okay, you know, this one is, you know, any handheld object you're aware of, you know, so it stops the person from saying, let me make a gun or a PDA or whatever have you, you know, but, you know, things that are legitimately found in a player's handbook. You know, and then, you know, possibly, you know, well, what, you know, if you want to go, you know, to a grander version, let me imitate a Staff of Power, well, then maybe that's something that requires a concentration check because you're replicating something that you know of but has greater power than its base significance.
Unless, you know, it's like a wisdom check in order to actually shape it, you know, something like that. You know, where instead of like, okay, instead of being a concentration check every round to maintain it, you know, you actually have to shape it, or you know, or either that, or you could, like, a caveat could be like you can actually concentrate on this while concentrating on other things.
Yeah.
So that your wizard can still really cast his concentration spells and really gain the benefit of the item that he's changed it into. Like, yeah, that's great. I made this super cool or powerful arcane focus, but I can't. But all I can do really is cast spells that have a duration that aren't concentration.
Firebolt and some other cantrips. Yeah.
Right.
So there's that. You know, so like, is it actually like? So is it just like? I think you called it. You called it raw chaos,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So this is raw chaos that basically can be shaped by the mind. It almost makes me think of that, like the black stuff in Dresden. Erdite, was it Erdite?
Erdite, yeah.
Yeah. Except for that's kind of like the same thing, but in the sphere of annihilation way.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like the little globes of annihilation that you can literally control it with your mind and, you know, push it at somebody. That's possibly another item for later.
yeah. Or, you know, can you turn this stuff into like the stuff of annihilation, you know, and wield it with your mind like that, you know? So like the raw chaos thing is it's interesting, you know. So I almost feel like it's got to be items that have been infused with the raw chaos as opposed to raw chaos itself, because in my mind, like, raw chaos itself could be anything.
That's just thinking the legendary thing could be
Anything.
like in like a
Legendary or artifact, like, so.
Well,
like,
yeah.
We have another tier. We have, you know, you essentially have, what is it, 4 tiers, 5 tiers.
Yeah, so I would say, unique or artifact would probably be the one that is the legitimate raw chaos. It is completely open to anything and everything, in any of the books, and the person just has to be able to manipulate it. No concentration. The second tier would be like a rare or very rare, limited by either handheld or armor. And because it's something that the wizard has replicated to a lesser extent,
I feel like they're like, part of me says like just a +1 thing isn't really very cool or interesting.
But a +1 mutable, I think is cool enough, and there's different things that people can do with it. It's like, what happens if you've got a player who's a little bit savvy, and he sneaks his quote unquote puddle of goo in a pouch into a place that's not supposed to be able to have weapons, and he pulls it forth, and next thing he's got a pole arm. It's like, how the heck did you sneak a pole arm into here?
Very carefully.
You don't want to know where that was.
So I mean, different things like that I think are cool, and you can do interesting things with it. And as a reward, if the NPC is using it as one thing, you then don't have to worry about, is it a longsword for my fighter, or is it a staff for my mage? You've given an item that they can literally, whoever winds up getting it can shape it to whatever it is specifically that they need or want.
The monk gets brass knuckles.
To an extent, yeah.
So what do we have? We have common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary,
and then artifacts.
And then artifacts. So 6 tiers like you could do.
Right.
And like, so I like the idea of the artifact one where you could actually turn it into anything but an artifact, probably.
Yeah, it
might be the caveat to that. And then like, I like the idea with any of them, like you have to make a will check or a wisdom check in order to shape it into the thing you want. And it doesn't necessarily have to be particularly a high level check like a DC 10. That moderate DC of 15 is kind of brutal, especially if all you're adding is your wisdom modifier. But at the same side, I think using raw chaos should require you have to exert your will over it. So. And I don't know, maybe just attunement isn't. Maybe you have to exert your will to become attuned to it. I don't know. For some reason, I want to make a will check involved.
I have no problem with a will.
There's how the planes work in Limbo, like that kind of for shaping and moving things. Those are will saves, and I think they have DCs based on what you're doing.
Okay.
So maybe that's something to look at as a possible.
Yeah, as a guideline.
Yeah, a guideline for that. And I think that's in the beginning of the DMG with the different planes and settings.
So I guess the other thing, do you have to attune yourself to the raw chaos?
I feel like you would to understand how to make a change into things.
Well, I think if it's going to require attunement, something beyond a basic +1, might be warranted. I mean, the mutable is great, but unless you're looking for something, like, I need the fact that it's mutable. I can use just a basic +1 weapon, and that doesn't require attunement. Because you are limited to those few slots.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Like, if you look, that's why it's set up that way intentionally. Like, you're not supposed to carry tons of magic items on you in this edition. Like, they really did limit the gear, and there's far less items that require attunement.
Yes, I say it requires attunement. If you don't like it, don't use it.
I'm just voicing, another side.
And you can always switch out your attunements too. So
it's not like you're stuck with it.
Right.
And what does it take? A short rest?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's not like a couple hours of playing with the thing with the Chaos Silly Putty, and all of a sudden you're good to go. So I think this one I don't know. This might require an article, Ted. Nudge,
okay.
wink, wink. For the different tiers, like what do they do? Like what's the difference between common and And very rare. Maybe is it the pluses go up? Is it or is it that what it can actually become goes up? Do we actually use the concentration mechanic, which can be pretty brutal, really, especially depending on what it is you made. Like, haha! I don't have a sword no more. I have a puddle of goo. What kind of action does it require to change from one item to another?
If we made it a reaction, it would be really cool. I think a 2 mint plus reaction to be able to change it, even if it is a save to change it. I think that would be neat.
Or there's that. Or what about your free interaction with an object?
I think the tier of item, is going to determine, all of the benefits that go along with it. The lower on the scale it is, the harsher it's going to be. But the higher up you go, it's like, oh well, it doesn't require concentration anymore. It's not. It can be done. It can be shaped faster. I think the better it is, the better it is.
No. I think if you can make Staff of the Magi out of it, you need to concentrate on that thing.
Well,
you don't. It's not. It's not supposed to get rid of. I mean, being able to change it into 2 different items would be really
but
awesome.
I think at the point of Staff of the Magi, it's an artifact.
Oh, Staff of the Magi. Oh yeah, that's the artifact one.
Yeah. So there's 1.
Yeah, you can just not give it out.
And artifacts tend to be plot devices and part of a story arc, and you're not going to see that in your game for a long time, hopefully. So I don't think it's as big a deal, but I think the very rare is where it gets trickier. It's like, how do you make it qualify for very rare and not be too good,
right?
And still be good enough? And where do they start? Obviously common. It's not going to be common.
Yeah.
Probably not uncommon.
It's probably going to start at the rare.
So rare, very rare, legendary, and then artifact.
Well, I think an uncommon one could just simply be one that can turn into tools.
Non-magical.
Yeah, non-magical tools, like a thieves' tool or a hammer. Like carpentry.
I would say that would be uncommon at best.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still manipulatable.
Didn't I say uncommon?
You said common.
Well, I didn't mean it.
Okay. or if you did,
just
I
mind blast them.
Uncommon.
As Ted's brains ooze out his ears.
No, it would literally get blasted through.
Oh, I'd be all over me.
Skull shrapnel.
You'd be splattered in shrapnel and brain matter.
Yeah, so whatever I said, uncommon would be the tools one, and then you can go from there for rare for being weapons and armor, and very rare for Mammoth Barding. Barding.
At very rare, can we turn it into a mammoth golem?
Mammoth golem.
All right, so what do you guys think? Put your comments below. What do you think of mutable raw chaos? While you're making the comments, feel free to click like, share, even subscribe.
You can tweet at us at Twitter.
You guys are joining the conversations over on Reddit.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.